Alrighty, Cherub. So today we're going to start. We're leaving Europe for a hot second, and we're going to start our tour around the world. And we're going to start here in Asia. We're going to start in Western Asia, Western and Central Asia, and then we're going to move on to East Asia, and then we're going to go to the Americas and Africa, and so on. So today, again, here's our list of videos that we're going to be looking at. We're going to start again in Asia. And here is where we're going. The green is where we're going first, and the blue-green, the teal over here, this is where we're going next. So this is West, and Central Asia. This is where we're starting first. Then we're going to go to South and East Asia next. Okay? So we're starting over here, and we're going to be starting with Islam, which is super exciting. Now, Islam is one of the major religions of the world. It has the second most adherents on the planet, other than Christianity. It's got about 1 billion, I believe, adherents across the planet. So lots of people are tuning in to Islam. Now, remember, Islam is one of the Abrahamic religions, which means they look back to Abraham and the covenant, the promise that Abraham makes with God as their founding moment. Okay, the other two being, again, Christianity and Judaism. So they're looking back to Islam is looking back to Abraham and worshiping the same God that Christians and Jews worship as well. The term for the name of God, the word God in Arabic is Allah. So if you've heard Allah before, it's just God. It's referring to the one God of Abraham. All right. Now, again, Muhammad is going to be the final prophet. He's going to be viewed as the final prophet who comes along in this Abrahamic tradition, and he's be the last dispensation, the last guy that God speaks to before the end of the world. All right. Muhammad is born in the city of Mecca around 570. And about 610, Muhammad is a merchant, okay? And he receives a visitation of the angel Gabriel. And Gabriel commands him to recite the word of God. And he receives these revelations, and he has them written down. He recites them, he memorizes them, and eventually they are written down. And those revelations are going to be when compiled, become the Quran. Okay, the recitations of the revelations of Gabriel to Muhammad. Okay, Muhammad is going to flee Mecca, and he's going to go to Medina, nearby city. He's going to return in power to Mecca in 630, and then he's going to die shortly thereafter. Okay, so here again, we've got a couple clips that I need you to watch. On the left is a faithful, from a Muslim point of view, the origins of Islam. Okay, so please go ahead and give that a watch. It's less than 10 minutes. It's a good view of Muhammad and who he is and why we aren't depicting him, and okay, it'll show you kind of where he is and what he is and his origins. Okay, so go ahead and give that a watch. Excuse me. And then the one on the right, the 5 major world religions, this is the TED-Ed that's going to talk about Islam. So it's just a real good overview of what Islam is. So go ahead and give these 2 videos a watch. It'll help explain a lot as to what kind of some of the more nuances of Islam. Okay? And nope. Okay. Again, here are on the right, the majority Muslim countries on the planet. So Islam is going to spread. Though, again, India has a large Muslim population. So does China. especially out here in the West. The United States has a large Muslim population. There are Muslims all over the world. I met several in South America. Like, Islam is everywhere. Okay. Now, the 5 pillars of Islam, the 5 things that you do as a faithful practicing Muslim: you declare your faith that God is the one God, Allah is the one God, and Muhammad is his prophet, that you pray 5 times a day, that you fast during Ramadan, that you give to the less fortunate, and that you, if at all humanly possible, travel to Mecca and visit the holy city there. So Mecca is going to be right here in Saudi Arabia. All right. Now, here is a timeline of Islam. Islam is going to spread, and it's going to be a religious movement, obviously, but it's going to have a political component as well. And as it spreads, it's going to splinter into different political groups. We're going to need to know some of those groups as we talk about Islamic pieces. So for today, where we're just sticking at the very beginning of Islam, so we're just going to be staying in Saudi Arabia today. As we move on and talk about more pieces that were inspired by Islam, then we're going to have to know different groups, and we're going to revisit this chart. Okay? So today's theme is submission to the will of God, and that's actually going to be our theme for the next couple days. Submission to the will of God. And that's actually what Islam means, is that you submission to the will of God. You're willing to do whatever God asks. And a Muslim, a practitioner of Islam, is one who submits to the will of God. Okay? So this is our one piece that we're going to be looking at today, and it is called Masjid al-Haram. It is a mosque. All right. And inside, actually, the piece that we're going to be looking at is this structure here inside the mosque, and it's called the Kaaba. All right. And this is piece number 183. Now, like the construction of cathedrals, you're going to have to know the construction of the different pieces of a mosque as well. We looked at 3 cathedrals so far. We're going to be looking at 4 different mosques, and then a couple buildings that are not mosques as well. So we've got lots to learn. Some of these words may be familiar to you, but probably they're not going to be. And so we're going to take a look at what these words are and what a mosque is. So again, a mosque is it's the house of worship for Islam. In Christianity, it's going to be a church or a cathedral or a basilica. Okay. In Islam, it's going to be a mosque. Now, the mosque has obviously an entrance. It has a place to wash. It's going to have an open room where you gather and you pray. It's going to have a tower called a minaret. Usually someone is going to stand on this tower and call the faithful to worship. Now, in Christianity, when the faithful are called to worship by the ringing of bells, that's why churches have bells, is to call it's time to come to church. In Islam, they're not going to use the bell. They're going to prefer the human voice. And so you're going to have a person called a muezzin who has learned and has practiced to be able to throw their voice and project their voice over miles, stand on the minaret and call the faithful to prayer. So inside you have a place to wash, okay, before you come in and pray. You come in to pray. You've got the minbar, okay, which is a raised pulpit on which the imam, or the person conducting the service, will stand and speak. You have the Qibla. Okay, Qibla is the direction towards Mecca. A mosque is oriented towards Mecca, towards the holy city, wherever it is on the planet. And there are apps now that you can download to your phone that will tell you where Mecca is and in which direction to pray. I had a roommate in college that was Muslim, and he would pray 5 times a day. And he was from Syria, And I would, Bashar, his name was Bashar, and I would, after we had lived, shared a room for a couple of weeks, I was finally like, "Hey, Bashar, aren't you supposed to be praying towards Mecca?" And he's like, "Well, of course." And I said, "You're facing north." This is before we had cell phones and the internet was still new. He's like, curses. Like, I always get this mixed up. So it's just funny that, so generally you're going to be facing, wherever you are on the planet, you're going to be facing towards Mecca. And that's Qibla. That is Qibla. That's the direction towards Mecca. And the Qibla in the building is called the Qibla wall. And it's the wall that you face when you pray because you want to be oriented towards Mecca. Now, it's the Qibla wall because it will have a little niche in it. And that niche is called the mihrab. All right, so you've got your mihrab, and that is, again, indicating that this is the Qibla wall, and this is the direction that you need to pray towards to face Mecca. All right? There are 4 different kinds of mosques, and I'm just going to close myself out here. There are 4 different kinds of mosques. There is a free-form mosque. That's what we're going to look at today, a mosque that just kind of fits the shape of the land for the occasion. The oldest style mosque, and we'll see these other 3 here next time, but in North Africa and Spain, they're going to use what's called a hypostyle hallway mosque. And this mosque is going to use a hypostyle hallway. So this is a mosque in Cordoba. We'll take a look at this piece next time. But it has here in this section, it has a hypostyle hallway, just like the pyramid, or excuse me, not the pyramids, the temple at Karnak. Okay. To help hold up, and that's going to be the prayer hall inside this section. And we have our minaret here. In Turkey, they're going to prefer a centrally planned mosque, which is going to be based on the Hagia Sophia. And so we have over here this centrally planned mosque, just like a centrally planned church, like Ravenna or Hagia Sophia. This will be a centrally planned mosque. You can see here the minarets, and it's going to have a dome. And then in Iran, they're going to prefer what's called a 4-Iwan mosque. Now, in Iwan is this giant archway. So they're going to have 4 of them surrounding a central courtyard. And the big one, that indicates where Mecca is, in that direction. Okay? So we've got 4 different kinds of mosques. We're going to be talking about one of each. Each of these is going to show up on the list, so you are going to need to know which type of mosque we're talking about and where they're found. Now, the pieces, again, of the mosque that you need to know, these are the minarets. These are towers that are always a part of of the mosque. Okay? The shape varies depending on what the local style. But it's a tower on which stands the muezzin and calls the faithful to worship. The mihrab, again, is the niche set in the Qibla wall. Now, we don't exactly know how this developed. Perhaps the symbolic of the gate of paradise, perhaps it was, or so it's supposed to indicate or represent the doorway that Muhammad would stand in his own house to pray. Again, it's just kind of developed through the years. We're not exactly sure what it symbolizes, but there it is. Okay. So again, the mihrab is generally very small. Okay. It's not, it kind of looks from the drawing like an apse. It's not. Okay. It's much smaller than an apse. The minbar is the stepped pulpit, again, near the Qibla wall, and a sermon is preached from the top by the imam. Here's the Qibla wall. Okay, now here is a picture, a photograph of the mihrab and of the minbar. Okay, now you can see that in mosque architecture, they are going to be using different types of decoration. Okay, they're not going to be using pictures. They'll use calligraphy, and I'll show you another slide about here this in a second, but they're going to use fancy writing. They're going to use geometric designs, and they're going to be using plant forms, organic forms, which are called, it's called arabesque. Okay, and a awan is a rectangular hollow space, walled on 3 sides, and has the one side completely open. So in a 4-Iwan mosque, you're going to have 4 of these surrounding a central courtyard. So it's a rectangular hall or space with a vault. That's a new Iwan. A merkana, this is a merkana. Again, in Islam, they're going to love geometry, they're going to love math, and they're going to love ornamentation using these things. And so a merkana is this geometric form, this ornamental vaulting, and it's going to be based on the idea of the squinch. So here's like a little mini squinch, here's a little mini squinch, here's a little mini squinch. Okay, repeat it again and again. That's going to cover a bare vault. It's just to make it pretty, which is just really beautiful. And this endless multiplication of decoration here in these geometric forms, it's just stunning. Okay, they're also going to use the horseshoe arch, okay, which is especially in Spain, where we'll see this pop up a couple times, where it, rather than being a pointed arch or just a simple Roman arch, it extends a little further in, like a keyhole. Okay, so this is called a horseshoe arch. And the muezzin is the person who calls the faithful to worship. He stands on the minaret, and the imam is the congregational leader. Okay? Again, ways to decorate a mosque: calligraphy, fancy writing, pretty writing, usually script from the Quran. Arabesque here in the middle, and that arabesque is, again, going to be organic. They're organic forms, plant forms, or geometric forms, geometry, the endless multiplication of shapes. Okay, so these are the 3 forms of decoration that you're going to get inside of a mosque, because they're going to be very strictly adhered to, again, the 2nd commandment: don't make any graven images. In Islam, okay, back up. In Christianity, it's going to be assumed that God's often going to be personified in art as humanoid, okay? In Islam, they're going to say that God is beyond human comprehension. So he's not going to look like a human. He's going to be beyond human ability to understand, so he does not get depicted. Likewise, Muhammad does not get depicted, because that's creating an idol, a graven image, which is expressly forbidden. All right, so our first piece, our only piece today that we're going to be talking about, is the axis mundi in Islam. This is the holiest site of Islam, and it's called the Kaaba. All right, it is this rectangular cube, and you can see that it is in a much larger structure. This is the mosque that contains it is enormous. It's the largest mosque in the world, and it's called Masjid al-Haram. Okay? And you can see how they've organized the people in rows that radiate out from the Kaaba. As we move in here, now each of these little tiny speck segments, pixels, is a human. Okay? And again, all these are people. So you can see the Kaaba itself is quite large, but then it sits in this much more massive mosque. The Kaaba is a shrine, okay? It is a shrine dedicated to the worship of the one true God. Its origins are murky. It's been rebuilt several times in its history, but its origins are a big question mark. It's assumed to have been built by, it's said to have been built by Abraham and his son Ishmael. They met in Mecca and constructed a site for the worship of the one true God. Now, by the time of Muhammad, it's going to have been overrun by different, and going to contain idols to several different, many different gods. Muhammad is going to rededicate it. He's going to cleanse it, smash the idols, remove them all, and rededicate it to the worship of the one true God of Allah here in 631. So it's a granite structure that's going to be covered in this black silk, and the black silk with the gold calligraphy is going to be supplied from Egypt. The building itself was various colors through the years, because again, it's been restored and enlarged and modified throughout the centuries, but this is how it exists right now. Okay, and what you do when you get to, so again, one of the pillars of Islam is that you go on the Hajj, and the Hajj is a week-long event. It's not just you just show up and look at it and pray and call it a day. It's a week-long event, and part of that is you come to the Kaaba and you circumambulate, which means circle, ambulate, walk. You walk in a circle counterclockwise around the Kaaba 7 times. And of course, you want to get as close to it as you can. Frankly, I don't know how order is maintained, and I don't know how you get so close to it so as to be able to touch it. I don't know how that's figured out. But every photograph that I see of it is all very orderly and really amazing, the maintenance. And so I think they figured out a great system on moving lots and lots of people around, because when Hajj happens, millions of people will descend on the city of Mecca. And so it is this really logistical feat to accommodate all of these pilgrims at once. Okay, so circumambulation happens where you move in a circle 7 times around the Kaaba. Now, in the side of the Kaaba, there is going to be a black stone. The black stone is important. That is going to be said to be a gift from Gabriel to Abraham. And if you can touch it, even better. If you can look at it, great. But it's contained in this little silver panel here on the corner of the Kaaba. And it's said to have turned black by absorbing the sins of the world. Okay? The Kaaba, again, the holiest site in Islam. The site dedicated to the worship of Allah, the one true God. The shrine at which to worship. Now, you see all these people here. Now, I do want you to watch this clip. Again, it's showing the circumambulation at the Kaaba. Really, really, really cool. And just to see all of these, and this isn't even full. This video doesn't even show like when it's Hajj season, because it is not packed to the brim. But just all these thousands of people that are here circumambulating. I think the energy must just be electric to be able to be part of this collective. And that's what people have said that have gone on Hajj, that it is just this wonderful experience, knowing that you are unified with people all across from all over the planet, that you have this single goal and this single belief, and it must just be a really, really magical experience. Now, you can go inside the Kaaba, and I've linked an article down below that will tell you what is what, like how you get inside. Basically, you only get to go inside if you're an important person. It's not for everyone to go inside. But here on the corner, again, is where the black stone is going to be installed into the corner of the Kaaba. Go ahead and give this clip a watch. It's going to explain the Hajj and the different elements of the Hajj and what it means to go on pilgrimage on the Hajj to visit Mecca. Okay, so go ahead and give that a watch. And this is a 3D video, like it's a 360-degree clip. So you can actually, when you open this one up, you can scroll around. You can grab the screen with your mouse actually and spin around and up and down and look at the floor and look at the ceiling inside the Kaaba. And it does have plaques on the walls that commemorate the people who have built, added onto it and restored it and such. Okay. If you just want to pan around the mosque also from a high vantage point on the mosque wall, you can from this link right here. All right, so that is our brief intro to Islam and our brief intro to the Kaaba. Go ahead and jot down the notes, and we're going to have a quiz on this and the parts of the mosque next time. Okay, so go ahead and jot these down. This is our one piece, 183, the Kaaba, and the parts of the mosque. Okay, and we'll have a quiz on these next time.